So I guess we're live. I guess, no, well, not yet. It is 3:59 and counting. The big countdown to the first live demo on the brand new fieldandsupply.com website. I want to, I'm sitting here stitching. My name is Jon Gisold, and I want to welcome you to my page here, sitting on this new e-commerce site, fieldandsupply.com. It's a thrilling day to launch, a beautiful summer day. I'm sitting here in New York City, and I know that there are many people who have put their eyes and their enthusiasm on this particular site on this particular day. I want to congratulate Brad Ford. I want to congratulate his entire team, not only at Field and Supply, but at Fair in New York on Lexington Avenue, as well as with makersmoment.com. And the list goes on and on. Brad Ford, as you know, as many of you know, is a world-renowned fashion designer and a tastemaker. He's a good friend of mine, and our story goes deep, which I will get to in just a minute. But I do want to give kudos to Chad and to Aaron, who are behind the scenes, who are making this all work, making this whole new platform work. It takes a lot of people, takes a lot of talent, takes a lot of mistakes. So if there are some errors along the way, please forgive us. I see that Steve Boot is here. He cannot wait to hear me. He is one of my biggest fans. He's already in from Bruges, Belgium, and I am certainly glad that he's already joining me. Brad Ford and I met in Montauk at Ditch Plains Beach, sitting on a beach towel. There was a group of about 14 of us that shared a beach towel, and Brad, as well as the others in that group, enjoyed the surf, the sun, the ease of Montauk. And this is well over 15 years ago. And Brad Ford would talk about developing an old-fashioned flea market or a trade show or a craft fair of some kind. But as he is from Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, he wanted to be down home. He wanted to rise up or put eyes on artisans that made handmade goods like teepees and arrows and whittled bowls and woven blankets. And he had this dream, and he kept talking about it summer after summer after summer. And we didn't dismiss him, because Brad is not one who you ever want to dismiss anything, because he's tenacious. And he gave birth to this idea of what we now know as Field and Supply. Well, it was about 6 years ago that he wrote me, and he said, you know, I have this idea that we're going to put about 12, 15 makers together in a barn up in High Falls, New York. And we're going to try out this weekend of a craft fair. Everybody up in Hudson Valley was in that local region, people who made furniture, iron workers, people who made candles, and I mean, really elevated materials. And he said, John, you know that blanket that you have on your couch, which I knew quite well because I made it. He said, would you bring it up with you? Because I have this bench that needs a little softness. So I said, sure, I'll spend the weekend with you. We'll stage the area. We put the blanket on this beautiful bench, and someone bought my blanket, and I went into business. That's the beauty of Brad as someone who curates and nurtures talent. He sees things before the people who are actually making them see the potential. So I'm really one of the recipients of that beautiful eye and of that beautiful taste. And he gave me permission to then move away from the exercise world, where I was very well known, and begin knitting and bringing my knitting story into my reality. It's something that I did for good friends. I made gifts, Christmas gifts. And then I made these chunky blankets. I was walking down Grand Avenue in New York City, on Grand in Tribeca, and I walked across the threshold of a store called Loopy Mango. It was this curious store that you would walk into, and it felt like you were walking into Alice in Wonderland, filled with yarn and linen fabric. And these two women were sitting behind the desk, and they had this merino wool that they spin, that they sell, and I loved it. I gravitated to it, and I wanted to know what it was about. It was exclusive to them, and we developed such a lovely friendship that I wanted to buy a skein of yarn, which was at that time $188 a ball. So it was an investment not only in a fantasy, but it was kind of an investment in a dream, and one that I felt that I wanted to embark on. So they sold me my tools, and they guided me into taking something that is usually very small and made it very large. And they helped me in creating what I call Jon Gisold made by hand home accessories. And the beauty of this is that this stitch, like many other stitches, goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Knitting has been around since the Viking days. People out in the wilderness, they would tie thread that they would take off of a sheep or off of a llama, even off of horses, and they would create fabric. So this goes historically back hundreds of years. So by taking a simple piece of yarn, putting it on a stick, and creating knots, I am tying myself to a history that is steeped in tradition of adventure, of pioneering, and that has been handed down generation by generation to men and women. It is a family tie that is actually my story. I'm going to see if someone is wanting to ask me any questions. In fact, I just want to let viewers know that if you'd like to ask a question, you can go on to Field and Supply Live _live and chat with me live. So if you'd like to ask a question, please feel free to do so. Where was I? Oh, my family lived in northwestern Wisconsin, where during a blizzard, my mother decided that we would turn off the television and learn how to stitch. It was either a crochet hook or a knitting needle, and she guided my two sisters and my father into stitching without bitching. We took to it like we just loved it because we were doing it together as a family, but we were actually creating something that we could see. I'm going to show you my work here in just a second. I just wanted to finish a row. So I've actually knitted this while we've been talking. As you can see, it's the beginning of the edge of one of my blankets. So I learned how at the age of 10, and I continued to knit for years, but I did it in a shy, almost shameful way. I kind of hid it because I was a boy in rural Wisconsin, and it wasn't something that boys did, especially as you grew up. Oh, we do have a question. Oh, people are checking in. Hello, everybody. People are just saying hello. So this is actually working. It is a conversation, not me just, and a lot of hot air. Anyway, I put it away for a while out of feeling pressured by my peers. And I was also kind of a victim of a little bit of bullying along the way. And I didn't want this to add to the flame. Years later, as Brad invited me to be part of the Field and Supply group, I was suddenly a knitter, and I was a maker, And I had a little business that was budding by the craft fair that happened once a year. It was the only show where I actually decided to show my goods. And as Chad and I were talking earlier, he goes, "You just have the one product." I said, "I have the one product, but the one product that I have, I do well." I think the secret sauce in my blankets is that it has the essence of my mother and my family and of that blizzard. This is a little side note. My mother died when I was 20 years old, so I have not had her in my life for 40 years. And so when I sit and I knit, I kind of welcome the essence of my mother and of that blizzard into the experience. And so I think that there's an energy flow that is actually passed into each blanket. So when people actually shop the craft fair, it's guaranteed they touch one of the blankets and they say, "This is beautiful." And there's many beautiful things at that fair, but these are beautiful. They're made of a beautiful merino wool, but they're also made in the spirit of something that was very tender. And I think that that adds an element to these blankets that I take a great deal of pride in. And I'm willing to share it. Oop, we do have questions. Hi, people are checking the feed. Anyone? Oh, nobody's having issues. So thank you for interaction. I like that. So pushing forward a little bit, I got involved in a campaign recently that makes hats for an anti-bullying campaign. And it brought me out into the public of my knitting. It took me out of just knitting at home and put me out into, it was a bar down the Lower East Side where I met this girl, Shira Blumenthal from Lion Brand Yarn. We started making hats to fight the bullying epidemic in the United States. I heard her story, and her story was my story. Anybody who's been bullied as a kid, there's a way that you need to either deal with that or somehow push it down and just live with it. And I didn't want to push those feelings down anymore. I needed to let them go. So I started making hats, and Field and Supply has always been such a promoter of anything social awareness, social consciousness. And so they have always been terrific supporters of my campaign, making blue hats for school kids. So hence we have made well over 30,000 hats and given out 30,000 hats to students around the tri-state area. When we give a hat, we give them a conversation. That conversation is a way of them breaking their silence about bullying. And we've actually made such an impact on kids. And I know that Field and Supply in this platform has an area that you can go and donate money to, an area that will help bring in diversity in the crafting world. It will open up the rainbow of talent so that people who don't necessarily have a venue or an entry level will find an entry level through Field and Supply. And I give Brad and everyone there a huge round of applause for that. Something else is a part of this site that I want to just mention, because I'm a part of it as well, is the playlist. There are 4 playlists up on the site. Brad went to all of the makers, and there are many of us, and did a survey about what we like, what turns us on, what lights us up, what music we like. And out of those questions came playlists that you can play. So the Field and Supply experience up in Kingston, New York at the Hutton Brickyards, they have bluegrass. They have bluegrass music playing all the time. And what I hear when I hear bluegrass music is doing, 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 doing. Like, that's all I hear. It sounds the same. So I'm thinking, what playlist are you putting together? They're putting together this eclectic group of music that I listen to now while I'm knitting. It reminds me of the Hudson River, the relationships that I've built with designers and people who have bought my blankets. I call them my kids, have taken my kids into their home and they live with them. And so check out those playlists because they're really fun. And they kind of give you that essence of the experience of Field and Supply. Any questions? Oh, there's Margaret. You're loving this. Well, I take if you're loving it, then you're making me happy because I was a little nervous, but obviously you can tell that I am never at a loss for words. I did want to turn my camera around because I wanted to show you. I'm in my apartment here. I have a couple of blankets that I've displayed on my couch. Loopy Mango is my only source for my merino wool blankets. They are located in Beacon, New York. You can find them at loopymango.com. It's a local yarn shop in this time that we're in is struggling to find their way, as well as any small business. So I always promote that you are shopping through their site as well, that you can give them a shout out. But this is the colorway of the blankets that I work with. And what I do with Loopy Mango each season is I will isolate five colors that will be part of my collection that season. I have basics, obviously, that are cream. I have oatmeal. I have ash. And I have a dark charcoal. Those colors can lay in any environment. They can lay down in any aesthetic, from mid-century modern to, sleek, minimal modern. The beauty of the blanket is that it has the simplicity of one stitch so that it can transcend everybody's taste. It just has a way of laying down nicely. And I'll just turn my camera around for a second and I'll show you. There's the variegated blue. Oops, my finger's in the way. There's the variegated blue and white, which is great for the beach. And then I did a pop of color there with the billiard green. I sold a lot of that billiard green, as well as the cobalt blue. It was beautiful because a lot of environments are very monotone in neutral colors like browns, beiges, grays, and variations of. So a real pop of color like that is awful fun. And I'll tell you one really fun story that I had happen. Oh, great job. Brad just asked if I could show you some of my goods. In fact, I do have a scarf right here. There's a funny story that happened at this recent. Here's one of my scarves. And this scarf has a story. It's made out of the same Loopy Mango wool. It's 85 degrees in New York City, so I'm doing you all a very big kindness here. So I had this scarf, which many people bought. And as you can see, now I'm hot. But what a famous person was walking through, and I can say her name, Giselle Bunchen. She travels the Field and Supply show every year. She's a faithful customer. And she walked by, and I had this scarf on the table, and I wrapped it around her neck, and I said, "You're going to want to take a look in the mirror at that." And she did, and she said, "Yes, I'll take this." And then I made a custom blanket out of this really beautiful pale pink for her. So what I do with my blankets is, if there's a colorway that I don't highlight in my collection, I can work with you with the color card that Loopy Mango has, so we can find the proper fit for you. If it's something bold, if it's something that you even want an ombre effect, so it'd be neutral going into oatmeal, heather gray going into charcoal gray. I've done that in the past, and they're beautiful, but I also, and I like the timelessness of these pieces. Someone received the Field and Supply email blast today about the launch. She wrote me to congratulate me, and she said, "Oh, I wish I could be there at 4 o'clock." She bought one of the first blankets I sold, even maybe at the Black Barn at High Falls, and she still uses it on a regular basis. And I love to know that those people are still out there. It's not just a one-off. We build relationships. And in this time that we're in about connecting and building relationships, you know, taking tradition and bringing it forward. I think that we're really absolutely finding our way in this whole world order that we're living in. I just want to check and make sure we haven't any questions coming in. Oh, your blankets feel like a big hug. See, that's a very cool thing. One interesting story that I'll give to you, last year during the wildfires in Australia, I started a knitting group called Knit in the Pit down at the Asbury Hotel in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And the Asbury Lanes there did a big fundraiser to raise money for the wildfires. And they reached out to me, as I have a knit night there weekly, now on Zoom every Friday at 5:30, tomorrow night if you want to come. And we get together, we talk everything fiber, crochet, knitting. But they had a band on the stage and they put me on a stool and I knit a blanket during the concert. And people were bidding on it. And at the end of the event, the winner, I handed the blanket over to them. They were thrilled to win. They raised a great deal of money. I was very surprised. And it introduced me to other people who commissioned me since then for a birthday. Happy birthday, Alex. George was very sneaky in getting you that blanket. But the woman who won that prize, her husband became very ill and was really struggling with a cancer bout and still is. And when she found out that George had bought a blanket for Alex, she said, that blanket is with me every day because it just gives me a soothing feeling that everything will be okay. So I'm not saying that, I'm not giving you information that I haven't heard the testimonials. These are the testimonials from these blankets. But I think we're all looking for that connection, like I was talking about before, that human touch. And even because we have this distancing between us, we can find ways by beautiful handmade goods that one hand hands it over to the other. As you peruse through the Field and Supply website, you're going to see iron work, leather work, arrows that people hand make. It's not just soap and potpourri. In fact, you probably won't find those things, but you'll find furniture that has been handcrafted that is sublime. But those are hands that are handing goods to you. Brad and I, oh, here we go. We've got Hamilton and Adams coming up after me, I guess. They're like, knock at the door. Oh, Steve, I want one in every color. I will sell you one in every color. My sister Roxy is on from White Bear Lake, my biggest supporter and my treasured sister. And I'm glad that she joined us. And there was something I was going to say about the handcrafting of goods. Oh, and I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. The handcrafters that build these things, that bring them to you, those are, we did a pop-up experience, Brad, and I have to say this, Brad always invites us back. If we're having, he doesn't know our business, but he invites us to come back and be a part of his successes. He pays it forward. He includes us. He brings us with him. There was a pop-up experience of rejuvenation on Fifth Avenue. He said they requested that I knit live in the store. And a couple came in from shopping at West Elm across the street. This is a funny story. And she said, honey, look, this guy, these blankets are here. They're just like the ones at West Elm. As I knit him, I said, it's not the same. And she goes, oh, no, it's the same. They look just the same. And I said, I'm sorry to argue with you, but it's not the same. I said, I'm standing here making this for you, where in a store, in a big brand, I'm not saying you don't know where your goods come from, and I know West Elm, they are transparent in their fair trade, and we know the stories of where their goods come from, but they're made on an assembly. They're made off of a line. The line stops with me, and the line is in my hand. Loopy Mango provides me with the wool. The wool comes from the United States. I stand on the shores of the Hudson River in the arms of Field and Supply. And the people that make their way for that beautiful weekend in October, they buy blankets from me. They buy goods from Hamilton and Adams, Upstate and Chill. They buy from Killer Collection, beautiful jewelry. They buy from, you can peruse through, you can visit the site, shop everyone, play the playlist, and you're going to get the experience, because that's the thing I know that I'm missing with the stay at home. I'm missing the experiences. And I think even in this first day of Field and Supply, I was shopping it earlier. I was so proud to see my page. My page, as Chad pointed out, only has one thing. I'm pointing at you, Chad. But what I do well. And what everyone on that page does, they do well. And if we can stitch, if we can create, if we can make goods for good, then we're doing something good in the world. We're sustainable. Our products don't rot. They are made from the earth. They are things that will be passed on like heirlooms. They have stories behind them all. And so with that, I want to just see if there's any questions. Can you show us, make a stitch? I'm going to make a stitch, and I'm not going to bitch doing it. Here's a basic stitch where I'm going to do it in the reverse. So you're going to see it from your point of view. You push the needle into the stitch. You wrap the yarn around the working needle. You pull it through and just take it off your working needle. I'll do it again. Push it through, wrap it around, take it off the needle. I'll do a couple more. Push it through, feed it through, wrap it around, pull it through, take it off. So it has a very meditative quality, especially when you have a nice playlist. But you can see there's no tension in it. Once you find your hand in this craft, you'll have it forever. It's like riding a bike or like swimming. Once you get into the flow, you can be lost in it for hours. And I have already been going on, as you know. I can talk. I'm never at a loss for words. I've already done a row. I'm going to finish this off, and I'm going to get ready to finish my half hour off here on this launching day of Field and Supply. Hold on. There we go. You can see. Beautiful, beautiful. And I just want to see if there's any other questions before we sign off. We have 3 minutes left. I do crochet, and crochet is done with a hook, and it can be easily done with, here's a yarn. I have everything on hand. All you do is make a slip knot. You put your hook through the slip knot, you tighten it, and you build a chain. You just go in and through and build a chain. Can you see that? And what I'll show you, because I will promote, I am the king of cross promotion. Here's a crocheted blue hat that some young boy or young girl will get from me to remind them that bullying is not cool, and that if you're being bullied, say something. And if you are a bully, say something, because hurt people hurt people. And the way to stop hurting people is to stop hurting people. So there's lots of lessons in colored yarn. And my grandmother used to knit without looking. I can sit there and crank out a blanket. I'm not going to tell you in how short a time, because that means I should bring the price of my blanket down. No, I'm only teasing. But we have 1 minute left. I want to thank Brad Ford, the entire team at Field and Supply, Chad and Aaron behind the scenes. I want to thank Loopy Mango for our partnership over 8 years, the people at the Asbury Hotel, people at Lion Brand. I want to give a special shout out to my group, Knit in the Pit. I love you all so much. You help me through hard times. We help each other through the lonely times. We have knit together a community that I lean in on and I lean back on. So I'm comfortable knowing that we're all going to get through this particular time. And this website is going to show you things you've never seen before. So it's like Oz, step into the world of Field and Supply, listen to the music, enjoy beautiful work, shop, and let something from our hands come into your hands. So I'm going to thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Hamilton and Adams, upstate and chill. Bye, guys.